Did you know that Schiphol lies at the bottom of what was once Hollimer Lake? The Hollimer Lake was drained in the year 1852 and the first aircraft landed at Schiphol in 1916. Technically, the airport lies on the bottom of the lake, over 4 meters below sea level. They have never moved from their original location, despite all of the expansions. This makes Schiphol not only one of the world's most low-lying airports, but also the oldest to occupy the same location. The first aircraft landed at Schiphol on the 19th of September year 1916. Schiphol Group received an honorary, royal, title in the year 2016. Schiphol Group, the airport's corporate entity, was awarded a royal seal in the year 2016. It was given to them by His Majesty Willem-Alexander, upon their 100th year anniversary. A crown was added to our company logo, and they are allowed to call themselves Royal Schiphol Group. Royal Schiphol Group has 4 owners, the State of the Netherlands, Amsterdam, Rotterdam and the Group ABP. You may have noticed a plane on fire when leaving Binnenvelderbaan. That's nothing to be scared of. It's what they call their Firefly. It's a plane used by the fire department for training. It allows them to train under the conditions of a plane on fire, and when passengers need to evacuate. The fire department trains with the Firefly every day. If something happens at Schiphol, they know exactly what they have to do. Schiphol serves 104 airlines that flies to 97 countries and 332 direct destinations. Air France KLM is the largest airline at Schiphol. The entire Schiphol site covers 2,787 hectares. Schiphol needs several runways for planes to safely land and depart. Schiphol's old control tower is now a restaurant. The Polderbaan is the newest and the longest runway at Amsterdam Airport Schiphol. In 2019 alone, we transported 1.57 million tons of freight and 71.7 million passengers flew through Schiphol. Welcome to Rotterdam. Rotterdam is a major port city in the Dutch province of South Holland. The Maritime Museum's vintage ships and exhibits trace the city's seafaring history. The 17th century Delfshaven neighborhood is home to canalside shopping and Pilgrim Fathers Church, where pilgrims worship before sailing to America. After being almost completely reconstructed following World War II, the city is now known for bold, modern architecture. Here are some interesting facts about Rotterdam. Rotterdam is the birthplace of the kapsalon. When you translate the Dutch word of kapsalon, you will discover that it means hairdresser. But this is not what makes kapsalon so special. Kapsalon is a dish, or actually, the perfect food after a night out, and it was first thought of by a hairdresser in the Netherlands. He came to shawarma shop El Aviva in Rotterdam and wanted fries plus shawarma in one little container. Add a few slices of cheese, some lettuce, tomato, garlic sauce and sambal, and you have the world-famous kapsalon. Rotterdam has the largest port in Europe. As port cities go, it has a well-equipped and connected port, where it has a long-standing history of maritime activities. There's even an open and free for all part of the Maritime Museum, where you can go into old boats, and explore how it looks from the inside. All these boats are docked at the Oud Haven or Old Harbor, which is also a nice place to get a beer and gaze at the Willembrug by the water. Rotterdam's Harbour Europort is the 10th biggest port in the world. It is also placed on the 11th place of biggest container ports of the world. Europort is the biggest port of Europe and has even been the #1 port in the world for quite some time. Rotterdam is the only city in the Netherlands to have a skyline. The Netherlands' second biggest city, Rotterdam, looks nothing like its fellow Dutch cities. This change in appearance is due to World War II, when the city was bombed by the Germans in a 15-minute raid. Rather than rebuilding a carbon copy city, it was decided to construct a totally new, modern city, something Rotterdam has taken to with great enthusiasm, especially when it comes to its architecture. Everything, from the central station and its massive solar energy roof to the swan-shaped Erasmusbrug or Erasmus Bridge, is worth looking at. The Maastunnel is the oldest immersed tunnel of the Netherlands. The Maastunnel is a tunnel in Rotterdam connecting the banks of the New Maas. About 75,000 motor vehicles and a large number of cyclists and pedestrians use the tunnel daily, making the Maastunnel an important part of Rotterdam's road network. Building commenced in 1937 and finished in 1942. The Maastunnel connects Rotterdam with the shores of the New Meuse River. The tunnel exists out of 4 pipes, 2 for cars, 1 for cyclists and 1 for pedestrians. The tunnel was opened on the 14th of February 1942, but there was no ceremony or festivity because people refused to make it into a Nazi festivity, as Rotterdam and the Netherlands were still occupied during that time. In 1944, explosives were placed in the Maas tunnel by the Germans. But luckily the tunnel wasn't blown up, and we can thank the resistance fighters for that, as they made the explosives defect. Groot of Sint Laurenskerk is a Protestant church in Rotterdam. It is the only remnant of the medieval city of Rotterdam. After the most famous bombardment of Rotterdam, the tower of the Laurenskerk church was on fire. The fire spread to the rest of the church and the damage was big. Some people talked about demolishing the entire church, but Hitler forbade this. He made the church a protected monument. The church was built between 1449 and 1525. In 1621 a wooden spire was added to the tower, designed by Hendrik de Keyser. Poor quality of its wood caused the spire to be demolished in 1645. A stone cube was added to the tower, which proved too heavy for the foundation in 1650. New piles were driven under the tower, and in 1655 the tower stood straight again. This basilica was the first all-stone building in Rotterdam. Many important events took place here. The last priest of the Laurenskerk was Hubertus Dwifhouse. The Reformation took place in 1572 and the Laurenskerk became a Protestant church. In the Rotterdam Blitz on May 14, 1940, the Laurenskerk was heavily damaged, with only the tower and walls surviving. At first there were calls to demolish the church, but that was stopped by Queen Wilhelmina of the Netherlands. The Provisional National Monuments Commission had both supporters and opponents of restoration. In particular, committee member and architect J.J.P. Oud opposed rebuilding in 1950 and presented an alternative plan which would preserve only the tower. Next to the memorial, a new, smaller church would be built. This alternative plan was rejected, particularly because restoration of the Laurenskerk was viewed as a symbol of the resilience of Rotterdam's community. In 1952, Queen Juliana of the Netherlands laid the foundation stone for the restoration, which was completed in 1968. The Markthal, or Market Hall in English, is a residential and office building in Rotterdam with a market hall underneath. Queen Maxima of the Netherlands dedicated the structure on October 1, 2014. In addition to the large market hall, the complex includes 228 apartments, 4,600 square meters of retail space, 1,600 square meters of horeca, and an underground 4-story parking garage with a capacity of 1,200 plus cars. MVRDV, the architectural firm, designed the Markthal. The gray nature stone structure is designed in the shape of a horseshoe. Cube houses, are a set of innovative houses, built in Helmond and Rotterdam in the Netherlands, designed by architect Piet Blom, and based on the concept of living as an urban roof, high-density housing with sufficient space on the ground level, since its main purpose is to optimize the space inside. Blom tilted a conventional house cube 45 degrees and placed it on a hexagon-shaped pylon. His design depicts a village within a city, with each house representing a tree and all the houses combined forming a forest. The central concept of cube houses all over the world is primarily optimizing the space as a house to a better distribution of the rooms inside. The Van Brienenoord Bridge is a large twin-tied arch motorway bridge in the Netherlands. Located at the east side of Rotterdam, it crosses the New Maas, a major distributary of the River Rhine. The bridge actually consists of two separate, parallel, and visually, almost identical arch bridges, as well as a set of 3 parallel bascule bridges on the north end. The bridge carries 12 lanes of traffic of the A16 motorway, the busiest highway in the Netherlands. Additionally, on the outside of the East Arch, a 2-way segregated cycling bridge has been mounted. The bridge is named after the island Van Brienenoord in the river, on which some of its pillars are built. Looking at the twin bridge from the south, it's hard to tell that one of the twins is 25 years older than the other. Each bridge arch carries 2 roadways, the inner with 3 lanes of express traffic, and an outer with another 3 local or distributor lanes. The Euromast observation tower, designed by Rotterdam architect H.A. Maaskamp, was built in 1960 to commemorate Rotterdam's second Floriade gardening extravaganza. The Euromast was 100 meters tall at the time. The space tower was added in 1970, raising the tower to a height of at least 185 meters. As a result, the Euromast became the tallest structure in the Netherlands. The Euromast lift takes only 30 seconds to reach a height of 100 meters, where an observation deck and brasserie restaurant are located. A 360-degree panorama of Rotterdam and its surroundings is available. The Euroscope revolving lift takes you up to 185 meters in height. The tower hosted an extreme sports show involving base jumping in 2008 and 2009.